We've been showing you bombastic, all-out warfare and tactical team play in every video we've made so far. This time though, we thought we'd change up the pace. Today, we'll be showing you the world of WARDOGS, the trade-offs we made to realize it, and the priorities we chose to reach the performance goals that we set for ourselves. Not at the end of development, but from the very beginning, to make WARDOGS an Unreal Engine 5 FPS ready.
When we started making WARDOGS, there was this pressure from like the investors and publishers to make the game like look really unique and something people haven't seen before. They want you to appeal to the mass market and audiences that don't really exist. And we kind of knew like deep down that WARDOGS, it didn't need that kind of crutch to just appeal to FPS players. Like if I'm really honest about it, I think developers often have this kind of like ego about creating something totally unique, and very early on we're able to acknowledge like this is just our ego wanting to do something different and the publisher wanting to kind of carve out its own unique space. But really, does anyone even want that?
It's just not that. That's not what the game is. And as much as I want to just sell the art and tell you how the world's great, it's like the reality is it's not an art piece, it's a video game.
That doesn't mean we wanted this like generic Russian setting either. We've seen that loads before, but we did want somewhere that was like Eastern European in tone, so it felt familiar to players and grounded, but it had its own flavor, architecture, terrain, and culture. At the same time, the world of WARDOGS needed to support our core narrative of 3 rival PMC factions fighting for cash, influence, and control over a strategically important region. The more we researched and gathered reference images, the more one country just kept standing out. You can see it playing up that hill.
The geography, the location, how it was tied into the story and everything else. I think we decided Georgia was a perfect fit for the game. You can try and get a feel for a place through satellite imagery, through Google Maps, but what we found, especially in Georgia, outside of these main cities, is that there's almost nothing. And I think at that point, Joe was like, yeah, let's go Georgia.
We really wanted to make like this serious video about all this incredible research and all this reference material we went and gathered, and that really did happen. But if I'm honest, the amount of shit that went wrong on this trip was just ridiculous.
It's like a pack of wild dogs. Very angry.
It's called WARDOGS, all right?
It's like no photos.
Who said no photos?
The guy in the massive truck.
It was a really weird trip. It was definitely one to remember.
I'm not driving and I'm fucking stressed.
But I did get food poisoning and I fucking hated it.
Joe had a bad time in Georgia. Yeah, I thought Georgia was colder.
When we were in Georgia, we kind of had this mantra of like, if this was a survival game, like where would you explore? Where would you go and like look for something you needed? And that was kind of how we traveled the country.
It has such a wide variety of like architecture and history. You know, you start in on the right side in Tbilisi, in the city, and it is very much a mix between modern and very historic. And then the further you go over, you know, we visited into the middle in Chiatora, where we had the mining town, and we took a lot of inspiration from there. And that kind of is really what WARDOGS is. It's those kind of like rural areas.
Yeah, Chiatora was probably the closest thing. It had like that industrial part, which was very old. It was like an old train station that was kind of abandoned, and that linked then into like the edge of the town, and you could kind of see how it broke up into the little bits. Outside of Tbilisi, there was a town there, and it had all of these train carts that were like rusted out and abandoned, but people were using them as like sheds. But that kind of inspired some of the areas that we have now, and especially the flats that are in the game. Churches as well. You could see a church every couple of miles.
All these places we visited that you can see in the game, like the swimming pool and the factories and the houses, that's what really makes our fictional region of culture so grounded and believable. But none of that research, none of the art, none of the visuals matter in FPS if it feels like you're playing a PowerPoint presentation.
You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. Using Unreal Engine 5 in 2026 as an FPS developer specifically puts WARDOGS under a magnifying glass in a genre where the expectations of smooth frame rates and no stutters are a requirement, not just a bonus. For context, everyone at Bulkhead is a gamer. We check our applicants' Steam hours during our interview process and openly reject applicants for not being a culture fit. We understand as much as you do how important a solid frame rate is to good game feel. The only reason we move forward our release date is because we hit our minimum targets. Other developers may treat 60 FPS as their gold standard, whilst for us at Bulkhead, it's the foundation for what's acceptable.
100 players in the same locations, not scattered all over the map, dynamic base building, vehicles, infantry players sending important gameplay data to each other within large destructible map. What we've managed to do is pretty impressive because of the technical challenges involved with a game of this scale.
I think it's frankly a miracle like that we've gotten this far, right? And it's obviously a lot of hard work. There's no other game you can kind of compare WARDOGS to. Battlefield is probably the closest, but you can do a lot more in WARDOGS. You can drive like 20 odd vehicles into the point and we go, okay, just let the player do it. So from like where we were and where we are now, it's definitely like night and day.
WARDOGS is a more demanding multiplayer game than most mainstream shooters. Here's an empty Unreal Engine project running out of the box. This is what most games give you, with some art chucked over the top.
It's not really about the engine, it's about the systems and how you utilize the systems within the engine. Most engines use the exact same rendering path. It's all to do with like the systems you use, balancing of the systems, constantly checking and being like really critical of it. 60 FPS is minimum for us. We've been trying to hit 60 FPS on the low spec. That has been like a clear goal. Whereas like most companies be like, oh, it's running 30 FPS, that's fine. It's not really, not in today's age.
We'd rather be upfront before anyone considers spending their money and ending up disappointed. You will not be able to run this game at 240 FPS native at 1440p whilst on our highest graphics settings. That fact alone may be a deal breaker for some of the wider Steam audience used to less demanding 5v5 shooters. From the feedback we've gathered across a range of hardware, most players are pleasantly surprised. WARDOGS delivers good performance to most users. There's always a limit to that though. PC upgrade prices are crazier than ever, and money's tight. That's why we're introducing Potato Mode. It's so stupid.
3 years ago, we walked into a normal game store and picked up the most average gaming PC we could find.
It's right here. i5 8600, 1660.
Then we forced our tech art team to play WARDOGS on it until the game ran at 60 FPS at the lowest settings. Natively, we're close to hitting those targets, and with the help of some upscaling, we're surpassing them.
On the flip side of potato setups though, we have Overkill mode. Overkill mode is WARDOGS pushed to its visual limits, and we'll be reserving this graphics preset only to high-end PCs on launch, meaning if you don't have a capable PC, we will not even show you this setting. The reason is purely to protect players who haven't watched our vlogs or stumble across WARDOGS on launch and wonder why they aren't getting the performance they expected whilst using the highest graphics settings available. So to combat that, we're only making Overkill available to players on 40 series cards and above.
How are we optimizing the game?
How are we optimizing the game? Jesus Christ.
We are making a 100-player game that goes against the current grain of battle royales, which as the server progresses or as the game progresses, players drop off, which means that performance naturally increases. We're introducing a mechanic that is constantly trying to drive people together for a full server duration. There's never any rest.
Optimization is not something you can just do at the end of development. It needs to be a fundamental part of your ethos as a studio from day one.
We basically started from the very beginning. My first thing was server performance. That's going to be our key bottleneck. We need to nail that. 100-player game, have to get it nailed. We worked on that first, like extensively. The key thing is that people don't do, and it's really simple, it's just measure your game, get the metrics, see where it's slow, look for those bottlenecks, and then just focus on them.
We have 3 pillars to our optimization, and they are client performance, visuals, and networking. We realized playtesters cared more about consistent, smooth frame rate over blisteringly high FPS with stutters. So consistency is what we prioritized.
But client performance isn't one single clever trick. It's a stack of decisions made over years about what matters to players on screen and optimizing around that.
Optimization is a lot of the time a huge smoke and mirrors game. Basically, you as a player have got this letterbox into the world. Whatever we can do to make that letterbox the best visuals, the most performant, like that's what we're trying to do, and that's what optimization in a nutshell comes down to. Lowering movement update rates, lowering animation update rates, like reducing fidelity of visuals. They're all the tricks that we're doing. They're all ones that you don't just get out the box with Unreal Engine, and you can't just tick a box and be like, hey, give me 60 FPS.
Performance is a death by 1,000 cuts. If you cut corners on every system you develop, by the time you reach release, those 1,000 cuts literally do kill you.
Too often developers look for big things they can fix and optimize that save the day, but that's just not how performance works. That amateur approach has continuously disappointed gamers. So by focusing on performance from day one and being incredibly strict and bullish on our team about performance, we've been able to deliver only what we would consider good enough.
We kind of always put performance first, and then we try to get as much like visual fidelity out of it as we can.
It's not sexy to have performance as an art pillar, but it's true. Accessibility is key with these kinds of games.
We have like this huge map, you fly through it, you're loading stuff in, players are dropping stuff, players are driving vehicles. All of that behavior has a cost.
We mix new and old rendering techniques on purpose.
For example, we use trim sheets a lot, but then we also use nanite, which is like a brand new virtualized geometry, high-end behavior. We kind of have to balance that, right? You can't just go, okay, all nanite have like super dense geometry.
We have to compromise on fidelity sometimes. We can make it look really good. You can turn on all the bells and whistles and then everyone's capped at 30 FPS. It's not good enough. There's always room for more improvements. So no, I'm not satisfied because we've still got time and we can still get better perf. There are constraints, but it doesn't mean I'm just going to give up and be like, well, so it can be. It's just, you have to keep pushing. Same with perf, same with art, same with anything.
Straight up, it just doesn't matter how many frames you get if your shots on target don't connect. That's an entire video in itself. We'll release that at a later date. For now, just know we treat it at the same level as performance when it comes to game feel and responsiveness. When everything in WARDOGS comes together in a playtest, the immersion of the environments, the spectacle of the visuals, along with the performance and network reliability holding up, WARDOGS is genuinely one of the most fun projects we've worked on, and everyone comes away from a playtest with their own WARDOGS moments. It's so validating to know it's not just us saying it now either. Playtesters are having just as much fun as we are, posting their own WARDOGS moments in our pre-alpha testing channels.
You turn me back to base.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Right, that's it. Make sure you sign up to playtest and wishlist the game. If you don't wishlist, you have zero chance of being invited to play.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye! Hey, stop crying down there, you bitch!